Hi everyone, my name is Dylan, and today I'd like to show you a really useful tip for making visually harmonious design. And that tip is creating a custom color palette from one of your photos. Now this means that the colors you'll be working with in your design are all drawn from colors in the feature image, and this in turn sets up some guardrails that make it almost impossible to go wrong with your color scheme. And there are two ways to do this. The first involves selecting the specific colors yourself, and the second is to let the app do it for you automatically. Let's start with picking colors yourself. And in this instance, I have an image on my canvas, and I've just added a bit of text at the top there so that I have an element to edit. And when I tap edit, I can select color here at the bottom. And you'll see that black and white are always there as foundations in any palette, but you want to tap this little drop icon to the left of that, and once you've done that, you can move around on the image and select any color you like. So I can dip into this raspberry color here and find the perfect hue, something like that. And then right at the bottom here, you'll see that appears in my color palette. I just tap the plus icon to add it to the palette. And then I can continue to do this for any number of colors. So I'll get some of this light pink color there. Let's add that. Perhaps some of this yellowish cakey color. Maybe some green from the background there. Tap to add, and then perhaps just a dark gray from this plate. So you can add as many colors as you'd like to your palette, and then don't forget, if you tap them here, you can still edit those colors. Tapping them calls up an option to edit, and perhaps you want to just make that, I don't know, a little brighter, a little lighter, make some final adjustments there. Then once you've created your palette and you start working on your design, you can then access the color palette tool here at the bottom right hand side. And you'll see we now have that palette stored in our tray. And if you want to start exploring some different combinations of your unique color palette on this design, you'll see all I'm doing here is just tapping on this particular palette, and that's going to churn up an infinite number of options for me using that specific color palette that I've now created. Okay, so I did mention there's an even quicker way to create a color palette from a photo, and by quicker I mean just zero time at all. So you'll see now I have an image open in a project, and the color palette tool is open too. Now I'm going to scroll all the way to the very far right hand side, and you'll see there are three new palettes here, image 1, 2, and 3, each corresponding to an image on a page in my project. So I'm on image number 2 here, and what that's done is just automatically selected 5 or 6 colors from the image and just created a color palette for me. And again, all I need to do is tap on this button as many times as I'd like until a perfect combo, something like that, looks good to me, just magically appears in front of my eyes. And if I select this option and I continue to do some more editing on my own, you'll see that that color palette that has been automatically selected is now present in my tray. So I'm free to work with some of these different color options that exist within that palette. You can of course add more colors or delete certain colors from this palette if you so desire, and as I showed you earlier, you can of course tweak them slightly too. But the main takeaway is that you have the option of either selecting the colors yourself for maximum control, or if speed and convenience is your main priority, then just let the robots do it for you. Regardless of how you arrive at your final color palette, you can then save that palette. You'll see on the color palette tray at the far left hand side, there's this little arrow pointing up. Now this is a pro feature, but what you're able to do is now save this palette. Let's just give that a name. I'll call it new recipe for now. And you can save as many color palettes as you'd like and access them down the line for consistency in your designs. So where this becomes really, really useful is working with templates. So for example, we've selected a template based on the general style that we like, but we want to replace the image with a different photograph of a different cake. So I can find the image I want to use, just add that into my design. But now, of course, you'll see the color scheme has gone awry. And instead of going in and changing every single element to match up with the image, I can just call up the color palette tool, scroll all the way to the right-hand side, find that image palette, and simply start tapping through some options to make the entire design fall in line with this central image. So as you can see, it just makes customizing templates infinitely quicker and easier for you. GoDaddy Studio is a free app that you can download right now for iOS, Android, or web. All the links you need are in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and please think about subscribing if you want to keep learning about GoDaddy Studio. I'll see you next time.